Hey everyone, thank you for joining me today on the CAREpreneur Show. My name is Chris Channa, and I am here with Pascal from South Florida. He is the owner of a 114-bed assisted living facility in South Florida. He is also a FALA board member, and he also is the founder of ALF Boss, which is a great solution for those that are starting their own assisted living facility or maybe running or managing one. They have a lot of options. As far as like managing documents and making sure people have their updated information when it comes to training and things like that. So super excited for some time with you, Pascal. I really appreciate what you do. Love everything about what you're doing, man. And I feel like you are like the fastest responding person like in that group, man. Like literally like someone asks a question and you're like right there,
Yeah, it's time consuming, but first of all, let me thank you for having me on, Chris. It's a pleasure, and I look forward to it.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And just out of curiosity, for the people that don't know, that group on Facebook, it's called, what's the name of the group that you had founded?
The ALF Boss Staff and Administrators Group.
It's probably one of the most resourceful groups. I can't tell you how many times I've been talking to my team and I said, hey, just throw the question out in that group. There's so many people that are helpful, and so I really love what you do with that. But and how many members do you guys have now?
Wow, we're up to 2,800 right now. So we're getting close to 3,000.
That's awesome, man. But to have that level of support, is fantastic, man. So I really appreciate what you do with that group. But like, to learn a little bit more about your background, because like one thing we love to do on this show is help tell people stories, learn about their kind of like their beginning, what brought them into senior care, and just the journey they took and the solutions that they came up with as they started experiencing problems along the way and found ways to do things better. So that being said, I mean, how did you get into assisted living, or how did you get into senior care in general? Where does that story begin?
That story begins a long time ago when I was a little bit. I was actually born into it. My parents started a facility way back in the day. They used to have a motel that they ran, close to the beach there in South Florida, and it did really well in the winters, but summers were dead. So Dad was looking for some alternative to survive, and somebody approached him, say, "Hey, the new hot thing." This is before facilities were even a thing. I think there was one around, but he took a crapshoot at it, and he opened it up. I had no idea what he was getting into, and opened it up. Started off at 35 beds, and with the years, it's grown. And growing up, we actually lived on site. So we actually lived at the facility in one of the rooms.
Wow.
It was like an old hotel. It was like an old hotel room, old style, but it had a kitchen, a kitchenette, and the whole 9 yards. And we lived there on site. And I witnessed, my dad doing all the different jobs and all the different emergencies that come with it, and all the fun stuff with assisted living. Yeah. And I started from the bottom, mowing lawns at the facility, doing the grass, picking up the trash, things like that. Started doing dining room in middle school, helping with dinner after the dinner service after I get done with my classes. And in high school, after I graduated, I started doing office work, and I started doing clerical stuff. And just by observing what my dad would go through, my mom would go through, I would know about inspections and what's the drama that goes on daily operations. Things happen, this and that, and then once I was in the clerical, I took my core training class, which back then it was like, wow, it was like, I want to say 6 hours or something like that. It was like one day, and it was really a piece of cake. Now it's up to, I think they're up to like 3 days now, and you got to take this big state test and everything. So I was kind of lucky. I didn't have to take that the 3-day class, but with experience that, you learn a lot more than a class. And, the experiences that I've seen growing up in the industry, I knew pretty much of a lot, how to operate it, how to run it, things like that. And
so the coolest part about this, I think, the story, like, and I can totally relate to you, is that like, because my wife and I, we lived in our facility for 3.5 years, and I feel like living in that environment, you learn so much more about what it really is like. I mean, like, from an operational standpoint, from what your residents are going through, because you're with them, you're going through this whole experience alongside them. So like the only difference is that you lived there as a kid, right? Like, so as a family, you guys lived there.
Correct. As a family, wow. Exactly. So it was like no clocking out. we were there. So it's like
Yeah.
I come home from school, wave to the residents, go to our room. It's
Right. No,
and
I remember that, like, when we lived in our place too. It was like, like at night. I mean, at nighttime, or like just, it was just me and my wife, and there was no privacy. Like, I can't even imagine the idea of like trying to like raise a family in that environment. It was hard enough just with her and I. So,
mhm.
that like truly, like, honestly, like, I look up to you so much and respect you so much for that, because I feel like what you learn in that experience is you can't learn that
You
anywhere else.
can't. The
Yeah.
facility was my playground. I mean, it's crazy.
That's
you
awesome.
know,
Well, then it goes to show, like, just like how passionate you are, how much you know about it, and just because I feel like you really are an expert in assisted living for sure.
Appreciate that. And this business, as you know, we learn every single day. It's always, you learn something every day, how to deal with different situations. And there's a book of regulations, but life doesn't happen like a book.
Right.
There's curveballs. There's gray areas. There's this and that, and you can't. Only way to go through those and to learn is the experiences. So,
Right.
time is the only way to do that. So, yeah.
No. So then, like, so you ended up graduating school, and then I know you said you were getting into the clerical side of things. So then at that point in time, were you kind of transitioning to take over, or did you work there in?
Well, I mean, I went to a business school locally, but I kind of knew that in the long run I was needed there. My parents are from Canada. Their English was they did this whole thing with their English very minimum reading, speaking hard. So I kind of became, the educated one in English, things like that. So I knew that my future definitely held somewhere in the facility, working at the facility. So I was willing to help out. I did have dreams, things like that, but I said, right now I got to help out the business, and so that's where I got started.
Gotcha. Did you end up ever like leaving, doing something else and then coming back to it, or did you?
I did at one point. I worked in the warehouse of service merchandise for a while, and that sucked. That really sucked. But it taught me about hard work, and
Yeah.
you just move boxes all day in the back there, and clock out at the end of the day. And I didn't really get any satisfaction from that. But hey, a paycheck was a paycheck, but I was glad to get back to the facility where, like I said, every day was something different. It wasn't just boxes. It's like every day there's something going on. There's an issue to deal with, or there's happy family members.
Right.
Thank you for your work you're doing, and I find that much more rewarding than.
Absolutely. Yeah. What would you say, like, just in general, like, has been like the hardest thing, or I guess that one thing being like the hardest thing, and then one thing being like maybe the most rewarding thing about the role, because I think most people that are in this field, and I'm sure you could maybe relate and agree to this to some extent, is that it's really not a field you get into if you were thinking about a field that like where it's about the money. I feel like this is one of those things where it is.
It's funny because it's funny because you just asked me the question. That's the first thing that popped in my mind as far as the you asked me what was the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
Of the working in the industry. For many years, like from when I got started back then, for many years, I saw my parents struggling financially. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, and that was kind of like why I stuck around, and that's it's business, and I was going to go down with the ship sinking. For many years, we're talking before the long-term care program came around, there was no state funding, any help or anything like that. And I mean, I would just see my dad struggling, and when it came tax time every year, he's almost in tears, and it was just terrible. We had times we couldn't pay staff. We had staff would not take pay for a couple of weeks, and we'd borrow money and borrow more money and just keep hoping someday a miracle would happen. And which it kind of did eventually. The long-term care program, at the time it was called the nursing home diversion program, came around, and we got like our first check. And I think they paid us at that time, it was only like $700 extra per resident or something like that. And we got that first check, and we had like 10 residents on it. And when my dad opened that check, we're like, holy crap, like, this is our savior. I mean, it was like we won the lottery. We're like, holy crap. I mean, this is it. This is the big break we're looking for. Right. Now, 10 years after that, Now that program is paying up to like $1,500 extra per month, and without it, we would have had to close our doors. So financially, that was the hardest part to survive. Like any business, I guess, you got to go through growing pains, and we definitely went through financially our growing pains. And to touch base as far as the best, the best things about the industry, I think I've touched base on it. I like challenges. I like different. I don't want to be stuck in the same thing every day. So in this industry, you definitely every day, no day's the same. You're going to get thrown something at you, something new to deal with, or something good's going to happen, or something maybe not so good's going to happen, but definitely going to keep you on your toes, and definitely going to keep you not bored. I don't like to be bored. If I do the same stuff every day, I get bored. So industry is definitely for me.
That's what I was just thinking, like I've only been in it 10 years, and still to this day, like new things come up that like I've never even thought that like would happen, So,
oh yeah, some of it's hilarious, some of it maybe not so hilarious, but definitely different. Yeah,
and I think if all of us, like, as administrators, could get together and put that book together of like those crazy stories, like
I hear all the time, we should write a book. We should write a book. I'm like, yeah, but I don't think like the outside world would think our book was as good as we would think. Us administrators sharing stories is like, oh my God, tell me about it. I had the same thing happen to me, and oh my God, it's maybe we could write a book for fellow administrators.
Right, exactly.
That'd be a good one.
That's true. Yeah, we don't want to scare new people from coming into it, So.
Yeah, and that too,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's touching base on another subject. For those who want to get in, I always try, I tell them like it is. Sometimes I come off like a little, I'm trying to scare them out of the industry. That's not what I'm trying to do at all.
Just be realistic.
But I like to keep it real. A lot of people, they think they're getting it. I always call it the napkin moment. They write down a napkin. All right, 8 residents times 3,000 each. Holy cow! I'm only going to pay one staff person, and oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And all of a sudden, it's like they're in business for the first 6 months, and they're in my group, and they're like, "How do I get residents? I'm struggling. I'm ready to quit." They're working their butts off, and they're not seeing any results.
Right.
But I tell them, it's like, hey, if you open like a restaurant, or you open up a store or something, I mean, you got to be ready the first year to take those hits and be ready financially to take that on. Nothing comes easy in life, and assisted living is definitely not an industry that's easy. You got to put in the work.
100%. Yeah, I mean, and I remember too that the hardest part of the very beginning is even building that name for yourself, that reputation with like referral partners, because I feel like a lot of times when people first get into it, it's this isn't like buying a sandwich. There's like no risk in buying a sandwich, but when someone's placing their loved one into a community, there's in their minds there's a lot of risk there, to them, that they're kind of like trying to consider, do we take that risk on this new place that doesn't have any history, that doesn't have any residents? Like, sometimes that first resident can be like that hardest person to find, because his family has no history, they have no reviews, they have no experience to go off of to make them feel like this is the right decision for their loved one.
Correct. And at the same time, you can have the most amazing facility. You can have the beautiful fist. I don't even know if that's a word. You can have the nicest looking place. You can have the most amazing staff. But if you have no connections, you have no facility. Right. Nobody's going to refer to you. And that's majority of referrals for facilities come from other people. Right. Unless you're top of the line and it's people, you have a waiting list, people, want to go, hey, I want to live at that place. It's connections. So when you start off, you have no connections unless you've been in the industry and you were at another facility and decide to open your own. Maybe you got connections. But if you open up your own facility, you have zero connections. Nobody's going to, even the placement agencies have their connections that they work with. Right. They're not going to refer to you because they don't know you. So opening up a facility, my biggest thing I would say is you need to build connections on your first year. That's the most important part, or you won't survive.
Yeah, and I feel like too, like it's like they got to know you. And then if they know you, they gotta like you. And then if they like you, then they still. But before they make that, they can like you all day long and say hi at every meeting and But unless they trust you, they're not gonna send that referral over.
and humans are humans. I always say you have to build real human interactions. Like, I'll have people contact me. It's like, I called all the placement agencies and I'm getting nothing.
Right.
I'm like, are you like, really? Do they, like you said, do they like you? Are you guys friends? Whatever it takes to build a human, you need to do it. You know, you can't just say, hey, I'm ABC facility. We just opened and we'd like for you to send us referrals. They're not going to send you crap. You know, it's just
they're not Pez dispensers. You can't just pull the lever and
Yeah, I get that all the time. You know, I call all the placement agencies and they're not sending me any paper. Listen, they're going to work with people they already know. They got relationships with. They know them, and that's the way it goes. You know, it's not and same thing with social workers at the hospitals. That's where majority of patients come from, because nobody plans on assisted living. They end up in the hospital, they fell or whatever happened. They have to end up in a nursing home or the hospital. And then the doctor has that big talk with the family. Sorry, I don't think it's safe for Mr. Jones to go back home by himself. I would make a suggestion that you look for an assisted living facility. So the family agrees. Social worker decides, the social worker's job is to help out, find them a place. And if you don't have connections with a social worker who initially, at the end of the day, makes the decision or gives the family the facilities to go check out, if you don't have a connection with a social worker, you're dead in the water. I don't care if you have the best looking place or you have the coolest website or whatever you got going on, you're not going to get those referrals.
Right. Like when you think about, like, just your journey from, like growing up in the assisted living facility, like actually operating and kind of working in it from the administrative standpoint, and growing that knowledge base, and then what did the transition look like for you going from that, I guess, point in your life to starting ALF Boss? Like, what inspired you to start ALF Boss? And then I'm sure we can dig deep there.
You want to know the main reason behind it?
Yeah.
Scared to death. I had this phobia, scared to death of ACA. Don't know why. Just I'm operating the facility on a daily basis, and back on my mind was ACA comes. Oh, we got to fix this. If ACA shows up today, and ACA, then when survey come around, the biannual, getting ready for it, just kind of freaking myself out and stuff. So I was like, man, I just, I said, there's got to be a way to deal with this. I wrote a guide. I kind of like wrote a little book, and I kind of, jotted down ways to cope with it. I kind of coached myself when I wrote this book, and I was like, this stuff really works. So it started with that, and then to move on, I wanted to automate stuff. So that's why I created the software. I was like, if I automate all this ACA stuff, then I probably won't forget half of it. It'll get ALF Boss. The boss word came from the software system is my boss, and it tells me what to do. That's where the ALF Boss name actually, originated from. And then it just grew into, hey, I started writing compliance articles, how to deal with this, just from experiences. Write the articles and, don't get cited for this. But, if you do this or that. And all these articles came from me actually being cited for some of the stuff. I was like, okay, let me let other people know so they don't make the same mistake.
Right.
So then we started, we went to Facebook, started really small, and then kind of like me and you're doing now, just administrators venting their frustrations, problems, solutions to problems, questions. This platform is actually the thing I'm most proud of, because it's like a creation of something that was never around when I was younger in the business growing up. If I had a compliance question, we had to either reach out to ACA and cross your fingers that they would answer the phone or get back to you, and nobody wants to call ACA with questions. They're gonna, you're scared of, hey, what the hell? They're gonna come show up at my facility, because they don't know I don't know what the hell I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. So now it's going into like an awesome resource. So like, you got a question, I would say no question is, dumb. Not asking is dumb. So people go in there and post their questions, and I try to help out as best as I can. And now it's an army. It's an army of administrators helping each other. And what I love, it's grown into everybody loves to help others. So it's like a monster feeding itself. Everybody's helping and helping and help. I'm most proud of, to be honest with you. I mean, it's something. It's a tool that was never there, and it's took on a thing on its own now. So
No,
that's awesome.
so impressed with what you've done with it, man. And it's a very clean software. It's from a user experience standpoint, I find it to be, much more user friendly than some of the other options out there too.
That's the thing, but for the software, I always said I got to build it so my dad can operate it, which he's like computer, like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
surprised
I think
he can file. No.
You were telling a story one time about how your dad, like, he won't do like delivered groceries, and he still wants to go shopping at the store.
Yeah.
The market.
He still goes to BJ's every Tuesday morning. Me. He goes out of town. I'm like, I don't have time for this, man. I got things to do here. So I order everything online, and it's like, it's funny because he's definitely old school, but his work ethic is amazing. In the company is what it is because the hard work you put in. Him and my mom over the years.
So when you started like ALF Boss, I mean, did you bootstrap like that in the beginning, or?
Oh yeah, I mean, this stuff is. I still do most of that work. Stuff. The software. The company. That developed it. He's a young guy too. He was starting out, so we kind of meshed together, and they did me a favor, did a lot of the programming. That stuff is pretty expensive, but we got a thing that hopefully works out, and I'll pay him one day. Pay him back one day.
No, I love it, man. I mean, I feel like even since it first came about and I first learned about it, I feel like you guys have grown so much. I mean,
it's we're actually expanding now to the other states. We're trying to reproduce. Just that we love the helping part. And it's so easy to help people when you know the knowledge. So we want to spread the word, because before the knowledge was all like hidden, like you had to take a class or something, and now we know knowledge. We put it. Social media's changed the world. I mean, the internet wasn't around when we were back in the day.
That's true.
Now it's around. We Google stuff and you find the answers. So,
and I mean, even the groups. I mean, like, even if social media was around like 7-8 years ago, it wasn't at the level that it is today with the groups that are available, and
Do you remember the AOL or the AOL rooms or whatever the heck they were?
The chat rooms.
Yeah. Chat rooms or whatever. Yeah. Those used to be to go meet the girls now, but now it's gotten better now.
That's too funny. Yeah, no, I think like what's interesting too about that is that, like, because I remember when I first started out in the industry, I remember, it was literally like our first resident, and I was making her dinner for the first time, and like I was the only staff, right? And I was freaking out because like I like messed up the dinner, right? Like, and so now I'm beyond like the time. You know how you don't have like so many hours between lunch and dinner,
Yeah.
So I'm messing that up, and I'm like beyond that time. I'm like, if I have to cook another meal, like she's not gonna get her meal within that set time where Aka's like, can't be more than these hours, right? So I'm like, oh my God, like I'm freaking out, like, I'm like scared. Like, so I call my buddy who's a mentor at the time. I'm like, dude, what do I do? Like, if Aka walks in right now, I'm like outside the time limits. I don't have enough time to put a new meal together. And he was just like, relax, man. Just pretend it's like grandma. You guys order pizza. All's be fine. Like, but that Aka anxiety, like, so true.
With time, it's better. It gets better with time, But deal with it. I always tell myself, you're not doing anything on purpose to hurt anybody. You're not abusing anybody. So class 1, class 2s, those should not happen. If you're doing the right thing, and we know we're doing the right thing. So at the end of the day, you might get cited for class 3s, which usually are paperwork or I don't want to say silly stuff, but in the ALF world, it's silly stuff. I mean, it's
well, so sometimes when
things here and there, so you correct them and that's it,
Right.
But as long as you don't anybody.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying, when you're taking care of people, like sometimes like taking care of people becomes like the priority, obviously, and sometimes like those little minutia in the paperwork gets missed, which is why I love your program too, because it, like, that whole reminder thing. Like, I don't have to be like, oh, does Susie have all of her required trainings? Are they updated? Oh, I forgot to update that one. That could be that little ding that at the end of the day, she's a great caregiver. She does a great job. Without her, we'd be lost. but because that one little piece of paperwork was missing, or we didn't have it,
Yeah, and like I said, you're doing a good job, the best you can. So at the end of the day, you shouldn't be getting cited for a class 1 or class 2, which those are the serious violations. It's gonna be a class 3, and I mean, it's not the end of the world. So
yeah.
I kind of kill my anxiety with that. Remind myself, we're not doing anything wrong here on purpose. We're not,
Right.
As far as resident care, there's nothing serious that's being neglected, except.
Right.
And I always like to tell people, if you want to stay out of ACA trouble with the class 1 and class 2s and cure your anxiety, it comes down to residents that you have in your facility. If you're taking residents that your gut's telling you she really shouldn't be here, or he shouldn't be here, or so-and-so's got a wound, and so-and-so's an elopement risk, he's already left the facility once, or et cetera, and you're playing with fire with these types of residents that you can't properly care for, and your gut's going to tell you. Your gut's going to tell you, if ACA walks in now, I'm in deep doo-doo. So if your gut's telling you no on something, it's not worth it. I know a lot of people roll the dice because they're struggling financially, and they take all the residents that other facilities don't want to take at the moment. I understand that, but man, you're opening yourself up to trouble. Yeah, you're not going to be around in a long time if you're playing with fire like that.
Yeah, no, and sometimes you could have 10 residents that you could easily take care of and do a good job taking care of them, and then that one resident that could suck all of the energy and all of
Yes.
the life out of your team, and there's nothing left for those other 10 residents,
Dude, I agree with you 120% on that one.
Yeah.
That it takes just one to make the whole thing super stressful, and it's like, oh my God, you go home, think about his business, or so try the fence again, or whatever it is,
Yep.
It's not worth it. It is not worth it. The stress that it causes you, it's you won't last. You'll burn out if you keep taking residents like that. You're going to complain about the industry every single day. You're going to be one of those that just hate your job and your business, and go back. The residents that you allow in your facility will make or break, your happiness and your operations and the whole 9 yards.
Sure.
Your peace in your community.
Right. You won't be able to, get away and enjoy time away from the facility because you're constantly be dealing with those problems. And it's important to have that that time away too. I feel like, especially for those that have ever lived in their own facility, you really value those
Dude,
moments you get.
I can't tell you the how many years, the stress, man. It's you're scared to go on vacation, and what if ACA shows up when I'm not there? And you got to make your goal to be able to your facility be set up that if you're not there, the show still goes on. And I just had a mock survey. You might have saw on my Facebook group. I ordered a mock survey this week for my staff, and I didn't even go in. They were texting me at 7 o'clock in the morning when they showed up, and they're like, ACA's here, and they were texting everybody, ACA's here, and I'm like, oh man, I'm out of town at a conference. And,
sorry.
Sorry guys, you guys are on your own.
Yeah.
So I went back at the end of the day. I mean, they were a little pissed off at me. I bought them lunch today, so I kind of made up. But they were burned out. It was like a real day. ACA is just the mentality. When they spend the whole day there, it just burns you out mentally.
100%.
You're concerned, and I mean, when we say why, we all have some kind of authority figure anxiety. Like if you get pulled by a cop, something like that, your heart's kind of pounding, and it's. They're authority figures,
And I feel like the people that get the anxiety the worst are the people that are actually trying to do a good job. If you didn't actually care about doing a good job, then the rules wouldn't matter.
This is all my guide, by the way. All these different hotspots you're hitting on. Now, the ones who have it the worst are the people pleasers. They want to be perfect. They don't want to let anybody down. They think if they get cited for something that, for some reason, whatever it is, they fail. They're a failure, and the whole world's gonna look down on them, and it's just a big snowball. And I just tell them, chill out, man. You can't please everybody. You can't be perfect, and whatever they find is not a direct reflection on yourself. They can find something anywhere on any given day. I mean, there's so many judgment call regulations that they can twist them whatever way they want if they want to cite you. Well, don't take it personal.
So one thing, but before we, I guess maybe kind of as a last question, what's one piece of advice that you would give to someone that was like, just starting out? Like, what would be your advice for that new person getting into the field? And I know we've touched on various topics with new residency and things like that, but just as a whole, someone getting into senior living, senior housing, assisted living, what would be like your advice?
They want to, before they actually get their facility, or if they're thinking about getting in?
They're thinking about like the industry, like they're thinking about pursuing a career in it, maybe starting their own facility, maybe going to work in the industry as an administrator, in a leadership role, and just.
Yeah. Well, definitely take a core training class. That's the first thing. Second thing, if you're lucky enough to maybe get a position as an assistant administrator or manager or something in a facility, that's the best way you're going to learn, I believe, to see if it's really for you.
Should they go move into one for a week?
That's the best way, man. I'll tell you right now.
That's I'd say, man. If you really want to find out if you can do this or you're passionate about it, go live there. Move in.
Yeah.
It's all that, right?
Yeah. Because it's a hard question to answer, because it's like, if you have no experience at all, you've never worked in one or anything like that, you're kind of like how my parents were. You think that you're going to open this place, it's going to be this beautiful place, and you're going to take care of grandma and grandpa, and grandpa and grandma are going to be so sweet, and everything's going to be great. And then they finally move in, and they're like, this food sucks, and this and that, and they're complaining about everything, and all of a sudden, or you got the
and then someone has a blowout in the bathroom.
Or you hire some staff, and staff doesn't show up one morning and one night, and you're stuck to do the direct care because the staff didn't show up. Or there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of. I would just tell them, be ready to really work hard. I don't want to scare them off with details and all this stuff. Just, you got to be ready to work hard and get your hands dirty, because at the beginning, you're not going to have, unless you have a big loan or something you're sitting on, you're not going to have money to pay people. You're not going to, because usually when people get into the business, it's the smaller homes. You're opening a 8-bed or 6-bed in a house or something like that. And you are going to arrive financially, you're going to do most of the work yourself. It is a business/job, I like to say. When you move up from 10 beds and up, then it kind of becomes more of like a business type model. You don't have to do so much of the hands-on work. But even with that model, if you're just opening and you have 0 residents, it's going to take you time to build that up. So you don't have cash flow to be paying cooks and housekeeping and direct care and laundry staff. And be ready to do this work yourself. That's all. That's the best advice I can give. Hard work.
Absolutely.
And connections. Makes a lot of connections.
Got to build that support team around you. And once you build that support team, it definitely is a lot more manageable.
Yeah.
I know I've seen that. I know you've probably seen that too in your world. But just for people that wanted to reach out or get involved or be a part of the group, what's the best way to get in contact with you or to learn more about ALF Boss or?
Yeah, appreciate that. You can just go to the website alfboss.com. There is a chat box at the bottom. I'm on that thing all day. Just start the chat if you have a question or you want to reach out. Go there and check out the Facebook group, ALF Boss, Florida administrators and staff. And, we'll approve you, let you in, and you'll have thousands of ALF friends all of a sudden. Yeah,
no, I love it, man. That Facebook group is so great, man. It's such a tight-knit group, so supportive of each other. So I really appreciate it.
It's like a super mentor. It's like a super mentorship program with thousands of administrators there to mentor you if you're just starting out. So
on the
free,
Facebook group, at least,
everything is free. I try to provide a lot of free stuff. That's
you do. Dude, I absolutely love what you do, man. Appreciate the passion, the energy, the insight that you do bring to so many. So
I appreciate that. And you keep praising me, man, but I love what you guys are doing. I mean, there's no ALF facility that does the amazing activities that you guys do with the residents, man. This guy is the real deal. This place is amazing. So,
we're trying, man. Well, next time you're driving past, you gotta give me a call, man. Stop by, So
I will, man.
All
right,
well,
sounds good.
I really appreciate it, and thanks for everyone that's watching. Really appreciate you, Pascal, for joining me today. We'll see you guys. So every Monday we have this show. It goes out at 3 p.m. On Mondays. So join us on Monday, every Monday at 3 p.m. And Pascal, thanks again, brother. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you soon.